Welcome to a series of interviews that I recently conducted with an elder and a spiritual leader in our local community here in New Mexico. His name is Patricio Dominguez. Enjoy it.
All right.
All right. So you were describing cannabis as a portal.
Exactly.
And you're describing these natural products as tools that have different magnitudes of potential to induce novel senses and so forth. Obviously, cannabis doesn't produce the same type of cogitations and perceptions and so forth as some of these other psychedelics. It's much milder.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
The thing is, once you've pointed a person in the right direction, when the blind man sees, even if it's just the color blue, at some point they're now awake to the fact, hey, there's this thing out there called light, and they will make a conscious effort to push it in that direction, using the sacrament. You'd be amazed at just how powerful cannabis really is when it's directed. In fact, I dare say, and I have said it in the past, I haven't said it in a while, but I have said in the past, cannabis is the most powerful psychedelic on the planet because it can be pushed to the same level as any of the other psychoactives, but it's not so immediate. The other psychoactives will actually open all the gates in one fell swoop and give you a crash course in all the colors at once, which may or may not, actually, in my opinion, not really a good thing, because it's you might say, psychic overload. It is so much better to kind of creep up on this, and knowing that cannabis can take the human potential all the way to the upper levels, if it's directed. It's like, wait a minute, this is the most powerful sacrament that you could work with, because it is quite manageable and it is not prone to be completely disruptive of a human being's worldview, because it allows the worldview to change at a reasonable rate. Now you give a human being a substance that opens all the gates at once, and then they come back and they're overwhelmed. They honestly cannot. The first response is, "What the heck was that?"
Yeah.
Because it was just too much.
So you don't think the shock and awe is necessary?
The shock and awe, in fact, I think is counterproductive. I have heard people say to me, "Well, I'll never take that again." Mm-hmm. Because
and there's different types of folks, and it'd be great to talk about different types of people. Some folks are not flexible, and anything that they don't already appreciate scares the shit out of them, and they don't want to go there, so they are very protective over how they think about the world. But all right, so obviously everybody that is hearing this concept for the first time is hearing that there are strategies that have actually been formalized by people like you that they could adopt that would start to lead them on this path. So there's actual practices?
There's actual practices. I haven't invented one practice. I am actually reintroducing ancient practices that the invading religion stomped almost to extinction. I'm just bringing back.
I feel like I'm asking a magician to reveal his secrets. What What are these secrets? What
Oh,
are
right,
these
it's that.
practices?
Yeah, you're right. It is proprietary. I mean, the Church of the Spiritual Path has practices
Okay.
that it has put together. Although all of our practices, every one of the Church of the Spiritual Path's practices, are in the public domain.
Okay.
All you'd have to do, in fact, a quick review of shamanic practices of the native peoples of America
Okay.
will get you a smorgasbord of these practices,
Okay.
and you can arrange them in whatever way you want to make a holistic practice, or a practice that you believe would get the results that you're looking for.
Let me get one tip out of you for the average person that appreciates that taking cannabis helps them kind of, buffer out intrusive thoughts, allows them to perhaps to focus on the moment and some other aspects of their desires that in a pure form without these intrusive thoughts. For the average person that appreciates cannabis but wants to appreciate it more efficiently, what one tip can you give them that they could maybe think about or do under the influence of cannabis?
This was explored when Rick Strassman did his tests on dimethyltryptamine and previous tests that were done with cannabis, what is it, the other psychedelic, psilocybin. Set and setting.
Okay.
Never, if you want to direct your consciousness to a higher place, don't do the sacrament in a noisy space where there is distractions.
Okay.
The way up to the higher levels is in. It's an internal. You have to reconnect to you. You have to connect to your mind, not to your senses, to your mind. So if you were doing it at a rock festival or a party or whatever, you will never be able to turn that beautiful extra capacity inward, because now it's all focused outward to enjoying the spectacle and the spectacular that's going on around you. And so you have wasted this special capacity on experiencing a hypersense of the same old thing.
From that description, one would also define meditation as perhaps a noisy process that is taking away from something else. So if you're focusing on a candle or a sound or a sense, you have to cogitate that representation. So it is already diverting a bunch of your attentional demands to something that perhaps is constraining.
Actually, it is not nearly as nasty as you say. You're absolutely correct, though. But focusing on a candle is not nearly as distracting as focusing on a rock concert, or focusing on a party, or focusing on something else. You've now funneled it to some extent. At some point, actually, and you alluded to it, the ideal is to focus it down to nothing. And that's the ideal. However, not possible on your first try.
So you're describing sensory deprivation as ultimately facilitating a sense of enlightenment.
I'm describing it as a path to enlightenment.
Okay.
But look at how much greater sensory deprivation would be if your capacities were also increased. Because now you would have for a moment in time a more functioning cerebral process. So you would be able to use a higher order of function to work on the process of turning it to a higher consciousness. Not that your ordinary consciousness is incapable, because ordinary consciousness is capable under the proper circumstances of shutting off the noise and moving in a higher direction. It is capable of that. But there is a way to make it even more capable. And that is using a sacrament in the correct way.
Excellent. I hope you enjoyed this interview. I know that it was an incredibly interesting experience for me, and I hope that at least some of you shared some of that interest. As always, if you like videos like this, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons, or consider becoming a patron for our channel or a donor to the Medical Cannabis Research Fund, where we are fighting every single day to bring you objective, relevant information that you could use to make informed medical decisions, that you could use to maybe even expand your consciousness. We're doing it here. We're working for you at the Medical Cannabis Research Fund, because together we are changing the world.